up, Tricology family? Welcome back to another episode of the Tricology News Talk. And today we have another table discussion for you guys today. But before we get started, we have a new special guest on the show today. He's a good friend of mine, and he is also the CEO and founder of For Real Pictures down in South Miami. Everyone, please welcome Alice Proctor to the show. Alice, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, Trico, great to see you. I'm happy to be here.
All right, all right. So we have two topics that we're going to discuss today. And the first one is going to be about how to run a film business. Now, coming from a perspective who is a freelance independent film producer in my book, in case y'all already know my story about behind Tricology Productions. So it could be a way of this going to be a teaching to upcoming filmmakers who wants to get into the production business, like the producing side. So my recommend is to, if you want to start a film business, so my recommend is to start with a very close filmmaking friends that you know, and just start a little business from there. Like you can make a little skit videos or like short films to start from there. And like if you have a group of filmmakers that you know, that would be great. So that way you guys get started and then like just start making films, making productions, making projects out there to the point as when your production business starts to grow, then you can start networking with other filmmakers and start making more low budget or big budget films to start from there. So that's how my story began as when I became a producer. Like I started to network with my close friends and other colleagues when I was studying in not only at Miami-Dade College but also in Full Sail University. So I started out from there and just like be able to work with colleagues that I know very well, who are very dedicated into the filmmaking world and wanted to start like getting their feet wet so they can have stuff in their resumes to have when they go out to the real world and the industry. But that's everything from my end. So Alex, I hear you have a very decisive details when it comes to like a film business. So let me hear your thoughts.
Thank you, Trico. Absolutely. Well, I can tell you it's not easy running a 501c3 nonprofit as well as a cinema alliance of entrepreneurs. I work with a few, very select few entrepreneurs in the city of Miami. Yeah, I would say that it certainly is, it's no easy feat. Yeah, but definitely the pointers I have are the following, and they're very simple. Communication. You got to communicate with everybody. You got to communicate what you want. You got to communicate what you desire. You got to communicate what direction you want the company to go in. You got to be able to communicate assignments. Communication across the board, super important. Another thing, money, budgeting. You got to master money. You got to be the master of money. You got to play Monopoly, because Monopoly is a fun game, but it's also a game that teaches you about money. You got to learn and master not the lifestyle of money. I don't think money is a lifestyle. I feel like money is a means to an end, but it is certainly a means that can affect your end, whether it's successful or not. Money. You got to know money. You got to be financially educated. Forget the statistics. Don't be a statistic. Don't be uneducated. Be educated on money, period. And what that education entails, go out there, learn about it, talk to your friends that for a fact own that car. Ask them how they did it. Talk to your friends, talk to peers your age, millennials. Talk to people that have already succeeded. And yeah, by the way, if that friend, speaking of your last point, if that friend doesn't want to share with you a friend, you're not going to tell anybody how they did that. Like, if they're not going to share that knowledge with you, then okay, that definitely questions him as a friend. But knowledge, education about money, it's a must. Both, by the way, will take you far. and it will certainly cause you less stress and worry as you communicate what you want, and communication has been done, and money has been taken care of. You can pay your bills, you can live as a filmmaker, but you got to know and be educated on money and know communication.
Very good, very good. So, what would be your advice to our upcoming filmmakers that might be in film school right now, that might be want to go into the journey of producing?
Yeah, absolutely. My advice, please ask your school and ask your college, ask your university, ask, like, go, like, look at the school you're going to and find out where there are classes, workshops, where there are classes, first off, that are being offered by your college that teach about money. And definitely look at workshops that teach about money, like college, film school. Before you get out there, you got to cover all your bases, including the education of money. And in addition to that, yeah, like, look around at your classmates and definitely know which one of the classmates that you talked to, that you spoke to, tell them, hey, we have a meeting in 5 minutes. Take note of which one of them show up, because the ones that show up to your meetings, the ones that show up, period, to anything you call as a film student looking to bring together a group of people, that's the person that certainly you want to pay attention to, because the person that shows up is the person that's going to be there for you, definitely. And producing, definitely learn how to be tenacious, learn how to never give up, learn how to just ideas, initiative. Being a producer is all about having initiative. You got to have initiative, period. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You got to have the drive to get the job done, to make the deadline, to make the due date. I myself am a producer for one of our allies, whom I'll get into that in a later episode. But yeah, definitely those points a must.
Thank you for that for advice. That will be my same advice to you guys: is listen to your professors, always stay point in class, do some workshops, and you'll be definitely would make it there. But so without further ado, let's get into our second topic today, and that will be as far as the future, as it comes to not only local but franchises, movie theaters. So let's speak about on local theaters first. So as you wherever you are, no matter if it's in Miami, Atlanta, or like in LA, we have like our local theaters that only do like a private like a movie theaters, but also share as a host to like at many film festivals when it comes to like freelance or independent like short films or like feature films. So with everything that's happened in this past year as relates to COVID-19 pandemic, most of the film festivals has been going into online virtual events only. Normally, it will be like virtual and in-person film festivals, but right now, everything that's been going on is been virtual as it is. So, but even if they plan to try to do an in-person uh, film festival, it's very hard to try to get everything like from social distancing, everyone to wear masks all the time, and everyone spread out the chairs and like all this stuff, and do it like a limited screening with certain capacity members. So as far as you, who has run a filmmaking festival before, what are your thoughts on this situation as it relates to local theaters?
Definitely is a tough situation, Trico. Yeah, it's a tough time to run a theater, especially in a time when this is a very unfortunate, very devastating virus that's going around, that's hurting and killing a lot of people. I would say definitely, first off, know your history. Know the history of the concept of the theater. And by the way, just a little nutshell of it. History of the theater goes back to the time of the Greeks. You got to know your history to understand how valuable and how worth it has, to understand what worth it has in the present. Back in the day, during the time of the Greeks would flock to the theater to see performances and plays. Let's also not forget Broadway and theater is the precursor to film and to theater and to movie theaters. Before movie theaters, there was Broadway and plays and theater. And before our current space of theaters here, or even past in the United States, there were theaters stretching back to the time of the Greeks. So know your history, first off, to figure out how to support your local theaters, and definitely my thoughts on it are that I don't feel it's ever going to go away. No, because our civilization comes from the lessons and teachings of the Greeks. I feel like theaters are never going to go away. I just think that we need to learn how to have and keep both. And for the record, this is America. You can go to a theater, you can be at home, watch a movie, you can be on your phone, watch a movie, you can watch a movie with your friends in a watch party if you feel lonely. I feel like anyone who goes to a movie theater by themselves, watching a movie by themselves, either really wants to disconnect or is not feeling too connected with people and wants, craves to be in a space. I mean, I remember myself going to a movie theater watching Star Wars Episode 3. I remember watching and seeing the reaction of how, or even Episode 2 when Yoda fights Count Dooku, or even Avengers Endgame, hello, like the reactions and the roar of people in a movie theater like that was amazing. I feel like definitely it's not going to go away. No, I just think that we're gonna react to it at first. It's gonna be different at first. It's gonna be interesting. Then eventually, people are gonna realize that, yeah, look, misery invites company. People will eventually get lonely watching things by themselves. They'll flock to get the movie theater experience again, and so thus there will be a resurgence of moviegoers at movie theaters.
Awesome. So before we get into franchise theaters, let me give you want to get your last thought on local theaters. So when the vaccine comes, when everything is back to normal, how do you think the local theaters will be like until we go back into normal?
Definitely it will be slow. To my understanding, vaccinations, to my understanding, it doesn't even it backs this virus into a corner and eventually into a test tube, to which it's probably sent off to some scientist or somewhere to study to find an actual cure. But vaccines, I feel that first off, the news of it's definitely going to bring a lot of hope to a lot of people. And then, of course, we're going to be very careful watching just the effects of it. The news will come, is it working? Is it not working? If it is working, eventually, sure, we're going to see that increase back into movie theaters. I think we should still have, I think also we should still practice to clean our movie theaters. I have not seen so many places, so many bathrooms, by the way, in Miami, so clean in like forever. And I find it's weird how we're cleaning and just super cleaning everything and mandating that, like, because of the pandemic. I think first off, yeah, we're going to see an incline and an increase of moviegoers again. That's going to happen. It's going to be gradual. It's going to be, be a little slow at first, but it's going to come back. At the same time, keep the movie theaters clean, for crying out loud, even pandemic or not. And yeah, local movie theaters. I think, anyone and everyone, if you're tech savvy and you're driven as a filmmaker, look up the movie theater in your area that's closed down, contact the owner and work with the owner of that, because I'll tell you right now, owners of movie theaters or even people who host theater-driven events, it's a tough thing. When For Real Pictures did a film festival back at the Scottish Rite Masonic Center in 2018, where we featured, what was it, your documentary about the pigs, and then it was another film. What was it, Trico, you remember?
Yeah, it was a love story.
Yeah. I love that one. Yeah, like what was it called again? The title. I'm trying to remember.
Unforeseen Love.
Oh yes, I love that one. No, those two are great. You did a great job on those. Yeah, yeah, no, and that one, that relatively was, it was hard, it was tough, but it was certainly, it was the best film festival ever, in my opinion, and it was a great experience for everyone. Everyone had a great time. Actually, fun fact: the same architect who designed that building also designed the Coconut Grove Playhouse, which, by the way, is another old but also historically landmark movie theater. Look it up on what the state of that is. That one right there, it's still there. It's abandoned. Could be restored. We could come together. We could bring that back. Good question. Don't know. Look it up. See how you can support your local theaters. Definitely final tip on how to support your local movie theaters. Definitely gradually host the experience again. Bring your friends together for like outdoor movie theater event in Homestead because there's so much land out there, or in your backyard, social distance just for the sake of it. Post about it, make it a social media phenomenon where people are posting how they're hosting socially distanced movie theater events to show people that yeah, no, not everybody wants to be at home and watch a movie on their phone, on their computers. So like I said, know your history, like know the past events, know your current local theaters to go forward into the future. And just as the future is wide enough for all of us, the future in America is wide enough for streaming on your phone, at home, with friends at online watch party, to with friends at a local movie theater, or even with friends at a franchise theater. That's it. That's period. That's the way it is.
And speaking of franchise theaters, let's talk about AMC, Regal, Cinemark, and other theater chains. When this pandemic started in March, it's it struck the movie theaters. Like it had closed for a couple of months, and then it reopened again with certain locations reopen and open at a certain capacity with COVID-19 rules and safety procedures. So with everything that's happened, when it first closed in March, the film industry was struck, and then every single big blockbuster movie that was supposed to come out in their respective 2020 dates was either got moved to another date in 2020 or just straight moved to 2021 or just released it to video demand or like in a streaming platform that is based on the studio and or just premium video D or home release video as it advanced. So with everything that's happened, theaters are losing money. They are totally losing money, and not just because their movies um, being pushed, but with their fans being so scared of catching the about catching the virus and make sure like when you talk about being the theaters clean, but with everyone sitting down and everyone not wearing their masks, so like people are afraid to go back to the movie theaters, and that's what caused like certain movies not to get the box office prediction that they wanted. Let me give you an example of Tenet. Everybody thought that Tenet will be that one. Even Christopher Nolan himself say like this will be the movie that will bring fans back into the movie theaters. It made a good amount of money in the box office, but that many thought that was not everyone would thought it would be. Everybody thought it would make more money as it did. Like it didn't really even make that much in it domestically, but luckily internationally it did. So with everything with that, with not only that, but somehow driving theaters have been back. And then driving theaters have been more popular like in the 60s or like in the 50s or 70s. I felt like we were back in time with the driving theaters and everything that's going on. I mean, the first last time I've been in the driving theater, it's been so long. I think the last driving I went to was the Swap Shop in Fort Lauderdale. And I went to the Hard Rock Stadium where they host the open outdoor driving theater, and like it was a real great experience over there. I mean, they gave you food and all that other stuff. Even Walmart was doing drive-in theaters and like all that stuff. Like you saw everything in the news. Like they tried so hard to make sure the movie theaters can stay existed as it is right now. But with everything that's going on, what are your thoughts on the franchise theaters? So like with AMC being in a deep doodle, with they're trying to do a certain thing of having people rent out their own private movie theaters to try to save them money, and also with Regal and Cinemark doing struck with movie deals of having their movies released at a certain projected theater window, and then having the movie released into premium VOD or a home release strategy and everything else. Well, what are your thoughts on the future of franchise theaters with everything that has happened this year, and what the future will be like for them going into 2021?
Well, thank you, Trigo. That's an excellent question. Actually, just also, yeah, I saw Tenet actually at Cinemark when it came out. Went there, had a face mask. I wore gloves, garden gloves, just because I'm a bit protective that way. Yeah, beautiful movie theater. The Egyptian look, the columns, the hieroglyphics, everything. Like beautiful movie theater. It's massive. It's huge. Definitely loved just everything about it. Yeah, I can tell you that my predictions for that are, definitely it's going to be a heavy hit because of just the streaming coming in. First off, I think, that the streaming of movies, the decision made by, the companies that made the decision, you got to do what you got to do. That this is a pandemic. We got to survive. We like, this is a survival mode. And yeah, there are ways to make money. They need to make money to stay afloat, and I don't blame them for that at all. I think, again, just, reactions. I think the franchise theaters have to adapt. They need to definitely find a way to mix the virtual and the in-person movie theater experience together on days that films are being released, so as, again, not everybody wants to be inside. And I've been to Cinemark. There's hand sanitizers everywhere. Everyone's wearing like a visor thing. They're taking precautions to the maximum. I don't see why not. And my predictions about the franchise movie theaters, I don't no. If the people love them that much, and again, I know for a fact people love Cinemark. I know people love AMC. It's not going to go away. It's just that, again, it's going to be a hard-hitted reaction than the locals. The local movie theaters, when, that's local businesses that have slightly lower amounts of rent to pay, to my understanding. The bigger movie theaters by franchises, like, I feel like it's going to be a reaction. There's going to be a reaction, but eventually, yes, you will have that resurge, and people want to go back out there to Cinemark, enjoy the popcorn, the Coca-Cola, the cotton candy, etc. So my answer, there's going to be a reaction. You're going to have, like, the franchises are definitely going to get a little hit harder than others, than the locals. But again, if, us independent filmmakers can make it happen, like you're making it happen with this podcast, with, making the local and also just the simplistic gathering of the movie theater experience, like, valuable again. Let's make it happen from that to the local theaters. Local theaters support the franchises. And overall, I feel that, in general, filmmaking is always going to be that thing that everyone needs to get behind or to watch, especially during a pandemic, because we all need to be entertained. We still need to tell stories. So I definitely want to see, first and foremost, how everyone's reacting already with the theaters and the franchise theaters that make it hit hard. Because I definitely have a gut feeling. I have a gut feeling about this. They're not going to go away, but there's going to be just a massive resurgence, but after the fact happens, after we try this thing where we do streaming platforms for a little bit, then we go back to movie theaters, or and eventually both will sustain themselves and coexist and work together. And for example, you said it yourself, the drive-in theater. I haven't seen drive-in theater period, and wow, yeah, that was there. Like that's amazing. So what? Yeah, definitely. You know, if drive-in theater can come back, so can franchise movie theaters.
Yeah, and speaking of while we're still on the franchise theaters, um, a lot of movie theaters are taking it like very hard. Like I mentioned before, like with everything going on with this year, like some stay theatrical and some just like, oh, let's just skip the movie theaters and just go straight into Netflix or go into Amazon Prime and goes straight into Apple TV Plus or HBO Max or Disney Plus and everything. So with everything that's happened, do you think it was a good move on their point? And what was the best movie you've seen so far that has happened that might have been in theaters or like was on either Netflix or any other streaming platforms?
Excellent question, Trico. I think that, this whole, first off, it's still relatively new, this whole concept of streaming movies on these streaming platforms. I feel like, the streaming platforms are in the experimental phase to see what works, what doesn't work. I feel as if, you know, I feel like that there has to be both. Like in this case, you can have it both ways. It's art. The best part about our business, it's art. It doesn't have to be this. There should never be politics in art. It's art. If people want to watch a movie up in an attic while they're working in the attic on their phone, okay, they can do that. There's nothing against that. Like if you want to watch a movie alone by yourself, yeah, the movies and the arts belong to the people. And I firmly believe that, was it a good or bad decision? I don't know. I just know that, we need to find a way to have both, keep both, because if we do away with, like, first off, we did away with, how many places had drive-in movie theaters before the pandemic, and that was brought back. So why did it go away to begin with? Like, you can't build something new without remembering and honoring what it was in the beginning. And why not have how it was in the beginning for a nostalgia's sake, just to move forward into something new, like have all the above. Like this is why museums are so powerful, because you have the relics of the old, you see the telephone then, you see the phone now. Like have both, just do both. Like virtual show, like show the actual movie the day it's released, like virtually, and then show the movie like on like in the movie theater. And if you have the doors open, and if you market really well, you'd be surprised. There could be people doing both. So why not have both?
Yeah, and speaking of both, having putting into theaters and streaming service, Warner Brothers made that announcement last week or a couple of days ago, putting their whole 2020 schedule films not only into theaters but into HBO Max on the exact same day on their respective release date. Now, fans were rejoiced about this, but other industry filmmakers were kind of upset about it. And I'll give you one for example, Christopher Nolan, who said this, and I quote. He said this announcement. Let me find it. Here we go. Some of our industry's biggest filmmakers and most important movie stars went to bed the night before thinking they were working for the greatest movie studio and woke up to find out they are working for the worst streaming service. Now, I would say this, like, in ways I kind of understand where he's coming from, but at the same time, we are in a pandemic situation that you have no other choice to do it both ways, because some people are not ready to go back to the movie theaters yet, or some might be scared to because of the COVID situation. And there are some like movie theaters, no matter if you're in the U.S. or like any other country, some movie theaters may not be open, and some of them are open, but at a certain capacity or a certain movie time date for that certain particular movie. And then you got other movie studios such as Disney, who is focusing more on their Disney Plus, like such as same thing for Warner Brothers with HBO Max, who are trying to focus more on their streaming service so they can reach that certain subscribers where Netflix is right now, to try to get as many million subscribers as they can. Like Disney just had their Investors Day um with event yesterday, where they put out like a lot of content. They go put out like shows and features that's going to be exclusively to Disney Plus. And they will put out one of their latest 2020 films, feature film, Raya and the Last Dragon. They say that's going to be not only in theaters but also on Disney Plus with a premium access, like they did for like for Mulan. It didn't do great at the time when they do that, but I think with Raya and the Last Dragon going to make more sense, because this is an original film, and Mulan was kind of like a live action remake. So I feel like Raya and the Last Dragon might do a little bit better on when it comes to the premium access. And then for Universal, Universal will be doing great this year with their premium video access and everything. So take for example Trolls World Tour. It made a lot of money in iTunes premium video on demand release and everything else through Fandango and all that other stuff. And now they reach a deal with AMC to release their movies in a 17-day theater window. And then after that 17-day window, if people hadn't seen this movie in theaters yet, then they can finally watch it at the comfort of their homes on premium video on demand. And then for Paramount, they've been having a good relationship with Amazon. So like one of their upcoming films, Eddie Murphy's sequel, Coming to America 2, that was supposed to come out in theaters, but that Amazon bought the rights and asked and pay Eddie Murphy a lot of money to have the movie streamed exclusively on Amazon Prime. And then for Sony, Sony is the one studio that doesn't have a premium streaming service, which leads and possibly open the door for Netflix, Amazon Prime, and also Apple TV, which had bought one of Sony's latest films, Greyhound, starring Tom Hanks. They bought that, and that's on Apple TV Plus. So yeah, so and then also for MGM, which they tried to buy 007's later movie No Time to Die, but they said no, and they was very confident on their theatrical release. But the thing is, how confident can they stay confident with trying to stick with their theatrical release? And we don't know how this COVID pandemic will end as they get closer to their theatrical release dates. So this is something that's not only from a fan's perspective, but only and also from an industry filmmaker's perspective. So my question for you is that what are your thoughts of movie theaters, not movie theaters, movie studios focusing try to get their content out either in theaters or in theaters and their respective streaming services?
Well, I'm definitely sensing two questions there. First off, from Christopher Nolan's comments to now that question as well about the studios getting their content out. Very excellent question there. Well, first off, Christopher Nolan can say whatever he likes. It's his opinion that he could, this is America. We're allowed to say our opinions. We're allowed free speech. So all that's his opinion. I acknowledge that. Secondly, um, definitely, I can tell we're still trying to figure, like we, and meaning the industries and the studios are figuring out the puzzling question how to maintain the audience and how to just pull off this idea of utilizing the internet and in person gathering to watch movies. I think we are still experimenting with that. I feel as if definitely the studios have decisions to make because again, I find in the words of Orson Welles, limitation enhances creativity. This has certainly been the time period for that. I think adapting, they need to adapt. They have to adapt. How do they adapt? I don't know. But I think that the idea of utilizing both is not impossible. Just obviously, how do you utilize both is an excellent question. But I think the more that they focus on adapting and figuring out how to utilize movie theater and stream, or movie theater, drive-in theater and stream, or movie theater, drive-in theater, stream, watch parties. How do you utilize those simultaneously, or one or the other, or even how to like release films? I think that they should not close the doors, period, because if anybody wants to go out there, risk COVID-19, I don't see how like people are, aside from curfews that are mandated by the county, people are allowed to do what they want. If they want to risk it, put on the face mask, go to a movie theater like I did for Tenet, they can do that. Absolutely. I don't see, like, if you're going to go anywhere though, wear a face mask to begin with. And yeah, just adapt. I think that they need to learn how to adapt. They got to figure it out fast because, I mean, just as, the trip to the moon, by the way, as it was challenged upon us to, to beat the Russians in the space race of the 1960s, that everyone, by the way, then thought it was impossible. We would get to the moon maybe a couple, 50 years to like more than the time it did. We went to the moon in about 8 years, and we accomplished the impossible then. So if we can accomplish the impossible then, we can accomplish the impossible now of answering the question how to utilize streaming and movie theaters at the same time.
So, when it comes to like movies making their decision on whether to keep their theatrical release or like going into theaters and their streaming services, is there a particular movie that would you rather see that movie in theaters and have that theater experience? And is there certain movies that would you rather like I think I can watch this one at home and then skipping movie theaters as regards into the upcoming movies that might have go in a different route.
Definitely, I would love to see Wonder Woman 1984 in theaters. If possible, see the Zack Snyder Justice League cut that in theaters. I know that's a tall order because I hear that thing is it's 4 hours long, or how long is it? Do you know, Trico?
But what I heard is that at least 2 hours.
At least 2 hours.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. I would love to see that one. Definitely in theaters, get the movie theater experience there. And you said it right there, getting the movie theater experience. This doesn't happen unless you go to the movie theaters. And again, this goes back, I think the point overall I'd like to make with the time we have here, you want to support your local and franchise theaters, show up. follow the guidelines, follow the COVID-19 guidelines, of course, absolutely. Wear a mask, show up. Simplicity. Simple as that, show up. I think, well, I don't think they should postpone, halt. If they decide to release the movie on that day and it was marketed a year ago, they were going to release on that day, guess what? Go big or go home. Release it that day. Do not stop postponing, unless there are external circumstances out of their control. They need to make a decision. Decide. Actors are told this. I'm told this. Make a decision and stick to it. Period. There's no politics in art.
Yeah, that's what I thought, because every time they either postpone a movie or have a movie on hold, the studio themselves are losing money.
Decide.
Yeah, they're losing money as it goes. So they really have at a certain point they'll have no other choice to release it. And if the box office numbers as what they predicted, then I mean, look at Tenet. They took the risk, and they was pretty happy how it went. I mean, not as they projected it to be, but like they was very fortunate to have that movie in theaters. So that, and then there are some fans like myself and you who are fortunate enough to see this movie in theaters and have that theater experience that we wanted to.
Yeah, decide. First off, it costs money. Yeah, okay. Oh wait, going back to what I said before, it costs money to market the movie. It costs money to, well, no, actually before that, it costs money to make the movie. It costs money to market the movie. It costs money to prepare and get everything ready. Buy the stanchions, those things that stick up that create a rope or whatever. You know what those are, right, Trico?
Yeah.
Yeah, it costs money. It costs money to pull off premiering the film. So if you don't release it that day, you're gonna lose money. It's gonna happen. You're gonna lose money regardless. But if you did everything, you spent all the money initially to compensate people, make the money, market the money, really, and then you set the date, decide, do it, stick to it. Period. And you will make money. It may not be a whole lot, on premiere day or the days after. Guess what? You still at least made something to keep going. And the reality of this business, you need money to do more things. You need money to accomplish more things. You need money. And I'm talking about money being the floor, the floor of your office. You need it, but the foundation of that office, the foundation of any production company, is the love of the arts and the theater experience.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything. So but lucky for us, we are getting these upcoming Warner Brothers films on either in theaters or HBO Max. So you guys have the option to choose from which ones you would rather see at home, or what would you rather see in theaters, and then going to other studios that you might be anticipated for. So there are some to look at as well. But that's everything that we wanted to discuss for you guys today. Let us know in the comment section below and give us your thoughts and opinions of what we just discussed today. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell when new episodes are uploaded. And before we go, Alice, can you share your social medias names so that everyone can follow you and everything that you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you can follow For Real Pictures on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. We actually just got a new office in Brickell, and we're very excited to work with a lot of people in Brickell and to just work with Miamians overall in any office location we have in Miami. And yeah, and we have Twitter. So we have Twitter, For Real Pictures, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. look it up for real pictures. The logo is all the same, and I'll even share the logo with you, Trico. And thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, and great job on this podcast.
No, thank you. Thank you for being a part of we hope to have you on into future episodes, and I will have all his social medias and web links in the comments in the description below, so you guys can follow him. And without further ado, he is Alex, and I'm Trico, and we're signing off.